and the
Hello,
right?
everyone, and thank you so much for joining us for another Priestess View. I'm Goddess Rhonda, and we have with us, as always, our beautiful Goddess Star.
Hi everyone, good to be here tonight with all of you.
I'm so sorry for all of the delays. This Mercury retrograde post-shadow, which does not end until October 3rd, the post-shadow is even worse than the actual transit itself. And of course, as you can see, or rather here, we've got in the background, let me fix this so I can put it on mute. Okay, sorry about that, guys. All right, so anyway, tonight we're going to be talking about the solitary witch. This is our solitary witch show, so that we can give you some tips and tricks to help you to improve your practice, if you feel like you need to improve it, of course. But before we begin, as always, we like to cast a circle of protection around us.
Yes.
All hail, our lords and ladies of the East, our brothers and sisters, our brother and patron, the sacred element of air, namaste. Divine honor, love, joy, peace, and respect to thee, my lords and ladies. I charge thee, please cause a barrier of protection through all of our walls that face your direction, from corner to corner and end to end. Let peace and protection reign herein. Thank you, and so it is, so mote it be.
So mote it be. All hail, all ladies of the South, my brother and sisters, my brother in the sacred element of fire. Namaste. Divine honor, love, joy, peace. I charge you, please cause a barrier of protection through all of our walls that face your direction. From corner to corner and end to end, let peace and protection reign herein. Thank you, and so it is, so mote it be.
So it is, so mote it be. All hail, our lords and ladies of the West, our brothers and sisters, our sister and patron, the sacred element of water, namaste. Divine honor, love, joy, peace, and respect to thee, my lords and ladies. I charge thee, please cause a barrier of protection through all of our walls that face your direction, from corner to corner and end to end. Let peace and protection reign herein. Thank you. So it is, so mote it be.
So it is, so mote it be. All hail, O lords and ladies of the North, my brother and sisters, my sister and patron, the sacred element of earth. Namaste. Divine honor, love, respect to thee. Please cause a barrier of protection through all of our walls that face your direction, from corner to corner, end to end. Let peace and protection reign herein. Thank you, and so it is, so mote it be.
So it is, so mote it be. And we now bring down the divine white light from the sacred source of all well-being and fill all of our spaces with peace and protection always. So it is, so mote it be, and thank you.
So it is, so mote it be.
Okay, so again, tonight we're going to be talking about the solitary witch practice. Now, before we even get started, I want to preface this with saying we don't believe that just because you're solitary witches that you need our tips and tricks. There are very skilled solitary witches out there. However, we do recognize that there are newbie solitary witches, or people just getting into it. Maybe you're not quite comfortable with branching out and networking yet, or maybe you've read books and it doesn't seem like enough, or there's something missing and you want to know more. This show is mainly for you. I didn't want it to seem like we were implying that solitary witches need our help. That is not our intention. I'm a solitary witch, so you can believe that I do respect your knowledge and know that you are probably there are plenty quite capable, well-skilled solitary witches out there. But I do know also, though, because I remember when I was a newbie, you know, back in the olden days before there was such a thing as the internet, where I couldn't get any information. We're trying to help you to do that. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, that's Star calling me. I didn't realize Okay, hold on 1 minute. The star is calling us. And so I guess her internet went out, so bear with me. Star?
Yes, hi. It just started off. It just turned off and it's starting up again. So I'm just not going to take that chance. And I'll just finish up the show like this. I apologize, everyone, so much.
Oh, okay. Well, here, let me, because I'm like, oh, my phone is ringing. And it was you. I didn't know. So let me just get my phone closer to the mic and turn it all the way up.
Not sure why I'm doing that, but
it's the retrograde post shadow. I have to tell you, you know, just for my moment of venting, everyone, about this post shadow that has kicked my butt. It has it totally shut down my internet. Comcast had to come out here and they found something wrong in the dark corner of the basement somewhere to fix it. I did a live ceremony.
okay. 1 second.
Oh, wait, here, let me move my phone because we're getting feedback. I can see your picture, but I can't see you.
Oh, okay.
I think you should go with the phone because I can't see, I can only see your picture and I can't hear you.
Okay, I'll get off with it.
Okay. All right. So anyway, as we, I just wanted to give that venting because we are having all kinds of problems. We were very sad that we couldn't do the show last week, but we are going to soldier on anyway as best as we can. Star, are you still on? I can see you on the computer screen. Can you wave at me so I know if you're there?
I'm not on the computer screen. I took it off.
Really? Because now your picture, for a minute you were moving around and then it stopped. So I guess when you took it off, it froze. That's okay. We're just going to go ahead and leave it and get started on our show. I'm sorry, everyone. And I really hope that your Mercury post shadow is not as hard as ours is going. And it does go until October 3rd. So be prepared to be patient for like another week I think we have left. But we're going to be okay. All right. So anyway, let's go ahead and talk about the solitary witch and what you can do to live a more magical life if you feel like you're not already living one to the extent that you want to live it. So one of the first things that I have down here is to start your, if you have not done this already, start your personal definitions of what things mean to you. Because I have found, I'll tell you something, I have found solitary witches to be very, very powerful because many of you are more spirit-led than book-led. And there are no better teachings than those that come directly from the divine. And you'll find that if you do not are unable to get knowledge from other people in your magical community, and the divine sees that you're serious about this, they will step in and teach you. Or ancestral memories will start to come up that you can start to utilize. All of a sudden, a lot of things will open up to you. And so I found that a lot of solitary witches are more powerful because they have gotten their knowledge directly from spirit and from the ancestral memories that they carry, that no one, things that no one even teaches nowadays. I'm going to do a little demonstration for you about that later. But until you start, or if you haven't started getting your direct injection of knowledge, what you might want to do, since you're working on your own, is to write out a color chart of what each color means to you. Start making your definitions. And because the color red, to me, what the definition of the color red, to me, it means energy, it means defense. That might not mean that to you. And when you read books, you're going by someone else's definitions. That's why it can be really powerful to do all of these things on your own and come up with your own definitions, because I have found that solitary witches, they create their own kind of spirituality based a little bit on the books that they read, a little bit on the advice that they get, their ancestral memories and spirit-led memories, I think it's very powerful to create your own form or to work within your own realm of spirituality. It can be a very, very, very way cool thing. But what you might want to do is to start off by creating your own personal definitions. And then what you can do is you can use that information to extend more into your own private life. So for example, you can get washcloths within the colors that, you know, as you define them. And please forgive me, I have a lot of allergy issues from being at a very windy Pig and Pride Day yesterday. So for example, to a lot of people, black represents, it absorbs adverse energy. So you can get, to make your life even more magical, you can get washcloths that represent things that you're trying to achieve. So let's just say I had a hard day at work and, you know, someone's been throwing bad energy at me. My coworkers were in a bad mood, and as an empath, I soaked it up. I could come home and charm up my black cloth and say, I need you to absorb all of the adverse energies within me and around me, and wash myself with it and let it absorb all that energy, and then just toss it in the washing machine for it to get cleaned up. Or if you need to you feel like you want to be more purified, or you want to be in a more spiritual state, you know, if that's what white, if white represents more of a kinder spirit to you, you can do that as well. Or if you feel like you're completely out of balance, which can happen a lot in our community because we've got a lot going on, you can get the gray washcloth so that it's both white and black, and wash yourself off with that, with the intention that you are going to balance out your energies with this. And then when you toss them in the washing machine, you also charm your washing machine so that it cleanses the cloths and clothes on all levels, including spiritually, of all adverse energy. So you're telling your washing machine what to do with all the water and the soap and things like that. So you can create a more magical life just by creating your own definitions of color, and then utilizing it with cloths or candles or however else you want to utilize that wisdom to help you within your practice. So that is my first tip. And now I'm going to pass the mic over to Goddess Star to tell us about her tip.
Well, one of the things that I have to say in general, I personally consider that everyone is a solitary in some way, because we're not always practicing with a group or with other people.
Mm-hmm.
So unless there's someone who is only doing witchcraft or ritual or spells only in group setting, everyone's a solitary in some way. I have a temple, and I may have different small covens in between, but I am definitely a solitary at home. So I personally consider that everyone is that solitary, and we all kind of learn from what we've gathered, whether it's outside or different pagan prides or different places that we've gone to, or different people that we've learned from, whether it's by book form or different workshops.
Mm-hmm.
Pick up different things, but of course, like Goddess Rhonda said, we get things from our ancestral journeys or dream portals or different things like that. All of that combined, and then we are lucky we have the internet now. You can Google just about anything. We've got books that long ago was not able to be accessible to.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of different avenues that you can take, but I know I get a lot of emails from people who say to me constantly, Star, is there no one in my area? This is where I live. You know, I would love to practice outside of just being at home and solitary, or they feel like they cannot practice at all. You know, and I have to tell them either start up your own thing or practice on your own at home. You create your own things that you can do. And there's no right and wrong way necessarily. You just learn as you go, and as you learn, you go, okay, this is what I can do better with this, or different things like that. And that comes with practice, in general, with any one of us. But the reason I say that we're all solitary is because in some ways, a lot of times, we can practice a lot of things with groups of different people or your best friend or whatever, but no one knows in your true heart what you really want to work on, or a particular spell that you want to really say the words from your heart, and you, yes, you trust that person, but you really want to say everything and let it all hang out. And sometimes the best time is when you're alone, with at night or whatever the occasion requires, and you're the one there talking, just talking from your heart. That's the one thing about being a witch. There is no set prayer or rule or whatever like the religions have. You know, we can literally and say this from stand there or however mode that you're in that circle that you've cast, and say something from your heart and commune with your God and Goddess, your deity, in whatever form that you wish. There are no set rules, you know, and you just talk to them like you would talk to your best friend. And you let them from your heart what you require, what your needs are, or what you need to work on for yourself. You know, so I think you're in a way your own best learning tool. So I agree with a lot of what Goddess Rhonda said. And that's just, you know, my first part of it. And to say, to go with a tip, I guess all of that is kind of intricately put together, or words I put together with you there. A lot of little tips are in.
Right.
Go with your heart. I just realized, you know.
Hey, going with your heart is the best tip I think that you can give to someone, because it truly is custom to you. You're the one, it's your thoughts, your emotions, your intentions. It's all very custom, individualized, and personalized. So going with what your heart feels. I don't care if the spell says, if you're looking at a book and a spell says you need to use, you know, rosemary leaves and a quartz crystal, and you're like, you know, that doesn't feel right to me. It feels like I should use, you know, basil leaves and a numite stone. Go with the basil leaves and the numite stone. That's your ancestral memories coming through. Go with that, because that's your personal thing. Don't feel like, oh, well, I deviated from this and I put my own thing. Now it's not going to work. Of course it's going to work. It's going to work better because it's based upon your personal belief systems, which brings me to my next tip to expand upon personal definitions. You know, when we look up a spell to use someone else's spell, I use spells, you know, from people that I trust. Like I like Christopher Penczak and a lot of other people. Of course, my Lexa Rosian. My brain is going. I'm going to tell you guys right now, my brain is a little scrambled because I vended all day at Pagan Pride and I did readings all day out of a metaphysical store. So I'm a little tired. My brain's a little tired of me, but we're going to plow through. But if you hear me stumbling, that's the reason why. But anyway, what I was going to say, to expand along with personal definitions, when, let's say, you're looking up a spell in one of your favorite spell books from one of your favorite authors, and it calls for you to use a different stone or a different herb, go ahead, you know, follow the instructions as you please. But as you're as you're picking up that herb, even though your spell book might say basil, I'm just pulling things off the top of my head, that bay leaves are really good for prosperity. And so that's why they're using the bay leaf in the prosperity spell. Take a minute to hold that bay leaf in your receptive hand, whichever, if it's your right hand or your left hand, whichever one it is, and write down, close your eyes and write down, what energy do you feel from this herb? What is it saying to you? If you pick up a stone or crystal or something and the book says, oh, this cherry crystal here, this cherry quartz represents Mars and aggression and fire and war, but you pick it up and it says, you know, peace and good luck, or whatever it is it says, write down what your personal definitions are in your book of shadows. That's why it's very important, you know, it's good to have a book of shadows, because it records your own stuff. I don't need a book of shadows to read another author's book. I got it. It's right there. I don't need to put it in my book of shadows. What I want to put in my book of shadows is my personal definitions and things that I'm going to be using for my stuff, the spells that I wrote and things like that. But it's good for you to pick up those energies yourself and have your own ancestral definitions, or maybe one of your guides or spirits or deities will come through and say, hey, you know, I know you thought that rose quartz was for love, but I want you to use it to heal so-and-so, or whatever it is. And then you get to have extra added knowledge on top of the books that you have. But again, your magic will be stronger because you're using your own personal definitions. It's very, very important to have your own personal definitions of things. This way you're not dependent on what someone else is telling you. Because you have to remember, the people who wrote those spell books based on their definitions. So you want to do the ones that are based on your definitions. You want to cast that spell and look at the spell first and really read it and say, okay, it says here I need honeysuckle and I need sugar and I need all these different things. What do I think I need for this? Put your own slant on everything. Make everything yours. Put your own personal touch on it, and that will also help you as well to start to define your herbs, to start to define your stones, to start to define your colors, the energies that come from things. You can get a whole wealth of knowledge just by holding a stone in your hand or a plant in your hand and listening and feeling and getting the impressions and writing them down so you know how to utilize them in your own way. So that is my next tip. And I will again pass the mic to beautiful Goddess Star. All right, get more tissues.
Now I can see you. I'm watching the outside part, and it's fine. I have no idea. But anyways, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. So as I was listening to you, and I was like, all of that is so correct in the terms of what you feel with things, because so many times, either myself or my friends, we're all doing a particular spell and hope, and putting in all the different herbs and oil that that works with it and everything, and then all of a sudden, for some reason, either a particular herb or oil, no matter what, you keep picking it up and putting it back down. No, that's not for this. That's not what usually goes with this particular thing.
Right.
And I don't know if that's happened to you, Rhonda, because it's happened to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going, that's not normally with this particular thing, but for some reason, there's so many times your hand goes towards it, or it even fell into your bowl as you're mixing, and you're like, okay, after a while, okay, I think you've knocked my head enough times. You want this to be in this particular spell.
Right.
And I have seen that happen a lot, because no matter what we say, we're all kind of kitchen witches of it. Unless you do all your crafting in your bedroom or your living room, and that's where you have certain things. But wherever it is that you have all these different herbs and oils set up, that tends to be that place that you mix all the different things together. And I have seen and heard people tell me, well, I know you told me this, and this, what with that. But for some reason, this other thing kept falling into it, or I keep reaching out for it, and I said, go with it. Because for some reason, that's meant to go into the mixture as well.
Yes.
So let your intuition on that, whatever guide, because I believe it's guides that's trying to tell you something. They will even take that thing and tip it over the side, and you have to catch it.
Right.
I don't think it's the last minute catching it. I've had that happen, and the jar almost fell. I'm like, oh my God, if it had dropped to the floor, that would have been it, all that spilled. And instead, I caught it, and I'm like, okay, I got the message, and I would put it into the mixture because that's what was needed. And it ended up being very powerful and worked beautifully. So sometimes don't second guess whatever it is. Yes, that spell works really well, and obviously it's going to work really well because something is saying, and this will add to it as well. So any little thing like that, it will keep knocking at you, and you do that.
Right.
I find that also another little tip that happens is when you work solitary, it's interesting what happens, because that kind of a thing that happens is a lot of times you think it's very therapeutic. When you are finished doing whatever it is and you're smelling like a particular herb or oil and the different things, it's almost as if you had stepped through time for a bit. You don't even realize the time, you don't realize anything like that, and you go into that mode and you zone out into mixing whatever it is you have to mix, and it becomes very therapeutic. Sometimes you've had a really not great day, and there you are in your area or your kitchen, putting that mixture together for whatever the purpose, whether it's to actually make you feel better because you've had a horrible day. And you do end up feeling better just by putting together the mixture itself. You didn't even have to finish getting together. You are in the process of doing it so much that it's already started and it becomes your little therapy session.
Right.
So being solitary wish is very therapeutic. You are your own therapist. It works, I'm telling you. It's beautiful. And a lot of times, whatever sense and stuff that you've gathered on your body from it when you were making it, because a lot of times you'll find that you've done that, you've done certain mixtures after you've taken a shower, take that to bed with you. When you wake up the next morning, it is the most amazing feeling as if you have stepped through time. And you feel like you've slept like 12 hours of sleep and probably you had like 4 hours.
Right.
I kid you not, I'm sure it's happened to you guys. And you wake up the next day and you are feeling so blessed. And also, for solitary, I have to tell you, it's kind of like it depends. I mean, if you're in New York, we don't have a separate room that we can call the temple room or the altar space or whatever it is. We wish we could keep that stationary space that is the room or separate space just for that.
Right.
So, York, because of everything is very compact, something is a nice word to being tiny, but you know, everything is kind of compact. So we have a tendency to, I do anyways, I actually created, and this is something that you can or cannot, you don't have to, it's something that I did. I actually created what I call a temple cloth. And I made it for, I can travel with it as well as I can have it at home. And it's an actual cloth that I made with silk and cotton on one side. One side is white, one side is black. Or you can make it dark navy blue. And I made edgings around. I don't even know how to sew, but I hand did this thing. And if you look at it, people are always like saying, oh my gosh, you're the best seamstress. And I'm like, I don't know how to sew. I just knew how to make that. And whatever creative move, I know, whatever creative move that happened, I did it. I even created an edging for it. And I put pictures of each of the elements in the corners. And when I put it down, it's already set. And that cloth, because it's my temple cloth and I use it all the time, is very sacred and already centered. That's my portable altar. And I place it down and I put myself sitting in the middle. And I can't sit in the middle anymore. I kind of stand in the middle now. But, you know, I would do that. And that's already my sacred altar space because, you know, you have to create that sacred space for yourself when you're at home. That you can kind of jump into that mode of like, I've had such an itchy day, I'm going to put myself there because we don't have to do like other religions where we go to their churches and stuff like that. We have our sacred space at home. So you can create that at home, and it's a beautiful thing to have your own sacred space at home and know you can reach out to your deities as much as you can, or your spirit guides and different things like that. It's a beautiful thing to be a solitary, I think. You know, and of course, I'm not knocking group settings or anything like that because obviously I do tons of group settings. That's what I do. I have a temple. But I'm just letting you know that being a solitary is not a negative thing. All right? It's a positive thing. It's part of who you are. Go ahead, Karen.
No, and it's true. And I appreciate what you said. And I think that's a great idea to make a cloth to travel with you. And we're just going to stop for a moment because we've got a couple of comments in our chat room. First, hello, everyone. Mary Mead in the chat room. Thank you so much for joining us. We always appreciate you and your comments. And we have a question from Jay Key. What about a laundry room in an apartment complex or a public laundry place? How would we charm those washers and dryers? Same way you would charm the ones in your home. I live in an apartment and I have to use the apartment complex washers and dryers. So you're going to go down there and you're going to place your hands on the washer and you're going to say, all adverse energies in this washer and dryer, whichever one that you're doing at that moment, I now send into the light to be healed and resolved as we're all healed from it. And we now bring down the divine white light from the sacred source of all well-being and fill this washer and dryer with purity, protection from adverse energies, and empowerment that it clears all of my clothes and laundry of all adverse energies on all levels, including spiritually. So it is. And thank you. And thank you, element of water, for taking care of this for me. So you'll say, thank you, element of water, for taking care of it for you for the washer. Thank you, element of fire, for taking care of it for you with the dryer. And, you know, if there's other people in there, don't worry about it. You don't have to say it out loud. You can just put your hand on the machine and think it. Or also, if you want to make sure that you can get extra washes, go ahead, and if you're in the laundromat, go ahead and say it out loud, because people are going to look at you and steer clear, and then you could get like 10 washes to yourself because everyone's afraid of you. And so you can have all the washers and dryers you want because they're going to think that you're a crazy person and stay clear from you. So that's a little trick to get extra washers and dryers in the laundromat. But if you don't want to be that open about it, you can just go ahead and touch it or use your own words. You know, everything is about intention. If you send your intention into that machine that it's going to be cleansed and cleared of all of those adverse energies, then that's what's going to happen. You take command. You command what you want from what it is that you are working with, and it will respond. Because don't forget, when you're using the washer and dryer, you're utilizing elements. You're utilizing water. You're utilizing fire. There's metal in there. You know, there's all kinds of things going on that you can charm the same way you would charm anything. So go ahead and feel free to purify the washers and dryers of other people's nasty energies and use it for yourself. And then every time you do that, you can, you know, clear it up and cleanse those spaces. And then we've got, Goddess, would you use the same, this is from Sura Vida. Goddess, would you use this same method if you were doing something in the hoodoo tradition, namely making a conjure oil, for example? Absolutely. If your conjure oil recipe calls for whatever it's calling for, and you beg to differ, and you feel something else needs to go in there, or if you've got a spell that calls for a conjure oil and you don't have any and you want to make one, by all means, go with your intuition on what you need to make that conjure oil. It will work, because intention means everything. And also, you're pulling on definitions that are custom to you, which is going to make it more powerful with what you're doing. So by all means, you can use these examples that we're giving you for anything, any spell that you're doing, any tradition that you're doing, any work that you're doing. If somebody says to you, it has to be done this way, you know, say, thank you so much for your advice, and then go ahead and do it the way you want to do it. Because I don't believe in limiting. You know, the sky is the limit with what we do, with what our craft. We've been given so many resources to use that it's ridiculous to limit yourself to just using this or using that, like those are the only things in the world. So I understand if someone is not confident in themselves and they feel like, well, you know, I'm not really confident with what I'm doing, so I'm going to go ahead and follow the book verbatim. That's okay. That's okay. Cool. That's cool till you get to learn more and feel more comfortable with what you're doing. But if you feel like in your head, you know what you want to put into your own personal custom conjure oil, then by all means, make your own personal custom conjure oil. Don't worry about what the book says. You know, it's like teaching card readings. None of my students are allowed to look at the book, because I believe that using the book is for people who are not psychic. Almost every truly psychic person I have ever met has had a hard time with the book, because it goes against what their personal definitions are. So there are no books in my card reading classes. And this way, the way I teach you, using your own intuition and what's in the picture, you can read any deck without, any deck at all, you'll be able, without ever seeing it before, you'll be able to read it, because it's based on your intuition and your own personal definitions instead of somebody else's. And also, you know, this is just a pet peeve, but it bugs me tremendously when people use reverse cards, because in the original tarot decks, there were no reverse cards. That was not an intention of the deck. There are enough bad cards in the deck that there's no need for reverse cards. So that was somebody's modern translation that they put on people, which really annoys me, because I don't like when people put their own things on other people and change traditions. If that's the way they wanted to do it, that's their business. But there are no reverse card readings in what I teach, and no one has ever told me I was wrong. In fact, I'm very well known for my accuracy. So that's, you know, another thing that you can go into, which I'll save that one. Well, I already started talking about it, so I'll just finish and let Goddess Star tell two things. Is if you're trying to learn how to read cards, please do not use a book. Please, I beg of you. Use your own personal definitions. Go through each of those cards, write down what it might mean to you. Or, with a reading, one card can mean 50 different things depending on who it is you're talking to, what their particular circumstance is. Go by what are the pictures telling you, what's going on in the cards, what does your intuition tell you. That way you can teach yourself effectively how to read cards based on your personal definitions. I promise you, you will not be wrong. Don't let anyone tell you, oh, it's got to be done this way. That's their way. Let them have their way. You go ahead and explore things, because basically what you're doing is you're creating as you go. And you're creating your own guidelines and your own things. And that's what helps to expand you, and also makes the spirit world pay attention to you, because they see that you're open to learning from spirit. And so if they see that you're open, they'll be happy to come down and teach you some more. So that's my next tip, is if you're learning how to read cards or any other form of divination, go ahead and put again, the same way that you're creating your own personal definitions of colors and what stones and herbs mean, create your own personal definitions of what the cards mean. And you can, to practice on yourself about a situation that you know of. Pull the cards and see how the pictures, correspond to what your situation is. And you'll see that you're probably right, and then practice on your friends. This way, you'll be, like I said, you can pick up any card deck in the world and you'll be able to read it, because it's based on your definitions, your interpretation of the colors, of the pictures, of what you're picking up from the querent and all those other things. And you'll actually probably find that you get a better, more rounded, comprehensive answer that you truly and fully understand, as opposed to going by what a book says, which gives you limited definitions, when there really are no limits to the definitions of what those cards can mean. So that is my next tip on for the solitary witch who may be starting out and wondering how to learn cards. So Goddess Star, since I think I gave 2 tips. I'm not even sure anymore. Oh, I know, because I was answering the mail as well. So go ahead, Goddess Star. Just go ahead and jump in, because you can see I'm starting to babble because I'm tired. So I'm going to shut up and let you talk now.
It's okay. You're pretty much saying what I would say anyway, because I do have a tendency, I don't teach tarot with a book. I have a little handbook that we kind of put together of different things of what in general people realize certain things are. Mm-hmm. But we tend to have you look at the cards and tell us what you see, and it's usually very accurate. Mm-hmm. We teach it pretty much the same way you do. And I'll confess, I have a tendency to read people, not cards. I use the cards to make them feel comfortable, so they do not feel uncomfortable that I'm reading them without the card. So I have I believe wholeheartedly that Goddess Rhonda is right. I don't recall ever using a book. Even when it says a certain thing, when I'm reading it for the purposes, they say that that's more accurate than what's in the book. So, I would go definitely with what Goddess Rhonda said with that. And going forward, I would also suggest to people that it would be a great idea that you know how a lot of people talk about their book of shadows. I think it's a great idea that you write down some of the things that you're doing.
Yeah.
Keep track of things as you go. That book of shadows is essentially, I guess you could call it a witch's Bible. Mm-hmm. Their way of they put together their tradition or their craft or their path. And all the things that you've tried, whether that, jar of herbs fell on you and said, I need to be in this particular mixture, all of that, write it down. You may use that another time. And then you write down, little things about this really worked, whatever. And it needed to have added that particular thing. And I found out, wow, that particular thing was very powerful. Right. Things like that. Add it to your book of shadows. All the little things that you go along, that's going to become your book. You're the author of that book, and I would suggest taking that and using it, and you'd be surprised. I have found some of my initial book of shadows that I've had over the years, and I would go and read them. I'm like, I wrote this, and I'm like shocked. A lot of things that I wrote and the outcome of it. And I'm like, I gotta try that spell again. I can't believe I forgot about that spell. Because I have like about, I don't know how many over the time, because it's been, I don't know, almost 40 years. I'm 56 now. So, you know, it's been years, but you have a tendency to gather many Book of Shadows over the years. But you are writing your own book. You're authoring your own book of your tradition, of your reasoning behind everything, or what you got from that particular herb and everything. Document your things in your Book of Shadows. Using it many times over the years, and it is what you can go back to over the time and look at it and go, oh my gosh, I forgot about that particular spell. And it worked so well. And I'm glad I wrote it down, because I need to use that particular spell again. You know, things like that. And then who knows, if you have a child, or maybe you formed your own tradition, or you're coven of 3, or you're coven of 5, now you have to pass it on, you know, things like that. But document your thing. Have that and create your Book of Shadows. That's my one tip for you guys.
Yes, and I cannot back Goddess Star up on this enough. And I'll tell you another reason why. There is nothing worse than than you doing the perfect spell where you put this stuff together and everything worked beautifully, and then you want to recreate it and you don't remember what it was that you did. I've done that. Yes, guilty. Are you guilty of that, Goddess Star?
Oh my God, yeah. And it pisses the hell out of me off, because you're like, how did I not write that down?
Exactly.
You know, that recipe that you created, you know, and oh my gosh. I have a binded book that my friend finally took and said, we've had it, Star, and we're going to make sure we bind it so you don't lose your recipe. And they did it for me, and now it looks like binded book that's stuck with pages in the middle of it, you know. Just keep adding and adding, but you need that. Don't lose them. You'll be very unhappy.
You will be very, very sad. And my sister, keep in mind, my sister is Christian, but a long time ago, and this is when, I'm going back probably about 30 years, and I created this hair conditioner. My sister still talks about it to this day. I created this hair conditioner that made your hair like you've never seen before. And my sister's like, you got to make that again. And I did not write. I was just throwing things into the pot and what I felt like. I did not write. I've never been able to recreate it. And to the 30 years, my sister has been reminding me, did you remember how to do the hair conditioner? I can't believe you didn't write it down. You know, which is very interesting when you think about, my sister's a Christian, but this is where my mother says beauty knows no pain. My sister was more than happy to use my charmed hair conditioner to make her hair look good. And she has never let me forget that I have not been able to recreate that exact formula. We could have been rich. You could have sold it, blah, 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 blah. She constantly brings it up to me. And so please write it down, because I promise you, you will be so sad if you create the perfect oil or the perfect candle or the perfect soap or whatever it is that you're creating, and then you want to go back and make it again and you can't remember what you did. It's very sad. And please take it from Goddess Star and I's personal experience. You will probably regret that if you don't do it. So write it down. It can't hurt, you know, and that can help you with that. And then we also have in our chat room, hold on for a minute. I'm sorry, I lost the thingy here. Here we go. All right, let's see what we got here. Someone says, Anaya says, it is said that in order to begin tarot, one should be gifted a deck from someone else. Okay, so why don't you go ahead and take that idea and toss it right out the window? That's somebody else's tradition. That's somebody else's thought on what they need to do for themselves. It has nothing to do with you. You want to go to the store and buy yourself as many tarot decks as you want, as many card decks, go right ahead and do that, because you're like, is this a must? Because I'd love to begin. I've been waiting a long time. Please don't wait anymore. Never wait on anyone else. And if you feel like you can do something, again, don't just follow what someone else says. That's their tradition. That's the belief that they were brought up in. That has nothing to do with you, unless you choose to adopt that belief, which is fine. You know, everybody's allowed to do what they want to do. But that tradition belongs to whatever they were taught. that has nothing to do with you. Go right out and do what you want to do. One of the joys of being a solitary witch is you don't have those restrictions that a coven might have, where they're like, you can only do this. You can do whatever the hell you want to do. So by all means, I hope that you are right now on Amazon or making going down to the metaphysical store tomorrow and buying your cards and starting to use them, because it is, in my opinion, you don't have to wait. I don't want to say anything that would disrespect someone else's tradition, because this is their tradition. But you don't have to wait. Do not wait on anybody. You go ahead and do what you feel you need to do. I've had people give me decks, but I've also bought plenty of them. If it pleases me, the ones that I like, the ones that I see, I'll pick it up in a snap. So please, by all means, go ahead and buy as many decks that you want, as many of the different kinds that you want, oracle decks, tarot decks, the love decks, the career decks, whatever you want to do. Please do not sit around and wait. And again, I will emphasize again, do not live your life based on someone else's tradition or someone else's spirituality or what someone else was taught. Because you have chosen to be a solitary, it gives you total autonomy over what you want to do, the tradition you want to create for yourself, and the rules and regulations and protocols that you deem to be appropriate for you. So please run out there and go and buy your own deck of cards and don't wait anymore. And then we've got Deb here, Debbie, who says, personally, I bought my first tarot deck years after a friend gave me a deck I couldn't use. It was the best one for me. And then we've got Jay Key, who says there's nothing wrong with buying your own deck. So by all means, please go out and buy your own deck. Debbie's favorite deck is a Dragon Fae deck that she works with, and it's really the best way. Jay Key's favorite deck is the Connolly deck that she's had for 25 years. So you can go ahead and buy the deck that you want to get, because again, as a solitary, you're allowed to do whatever you want. There are no rules. Go out and get your deck, please, by all means, and please don't let someone else tell you or dictate to you what you need to do or what you need to do. That's their spirituality, their tradition. We respect that. They can do whatever they want in their own lives and in their own practice, but that has nothing to do with you. So don't let that limit you for what it is you're trying to achieve in your life. Do you agree with me, Goddess Star?
Oh, absolutely. If that's the case, just about everything I've owned and bought for myself, I've been gifting myself all these things all these years.
Yeah, how about that? How about that?
I have I don't know, 30, 40 decks. And most of them I bought for myself, but I got to tell you, I understand what they're trying to say. Please, my birthday's coming up. Christmas is coming up. June is coming up. I love gifts. You can go ahead and give them to me. I'm okay with all of that, But, honestly, of all the decks I bought or friends gave me and stuff like that, it all depends what deck you're drawn to or vice versa. So do what you got to do for you. It's just, and even if you're not a solitary and you're with covens or whatever it is, or we have a temple and we don't tell people, we practice as a temple and we create great energies, but really everyone there is a solitary.
Right.
You do please. It's you're the witch that's living that craft, on a daily basis. The only thing I say to people, and I say this from the heart because I find that you've got the weekend witch or the part-time witch or things like that. That's the only time I say, okay, come on. It's either you're a witch or you're not. Or whatever path you're following. It's either you're that or you're not.
Right.
But don't practice looking down your nose at it. Don't practice and not really practice. But you go to different rituals or you practice a little bit at home, but I'm not really a witch. I'm really a whatever it is you want to call yourself, a Christian or whatever. Or I'm just dipping my toes a bit kind of a thing. It's either you are or you're not. Mm-hmm. This is your lifestyle, your life, your being a witch. Just like with how you see how Christians live.
Right.
And as a Christian, you got to give them props because for their religion and their faith, they live it, they breathe it, they smell it, they taste it, everything.
Right.
And the same thing witch right now. Okay? That's not the way this works. That's like saying I'm going to try being a Christian right now. And they don't do that. They go right in head first, dive right in, and they wallow around it and, everything else.
Right.
So you have to decide, if this is who you are, embrace it in the fullest sense and be proud of that. Be proud of who you are as that individual person and which that you are embodying, because it is your life you're talking about. No one else can dictate that for you, because a lot of people have a tendency to kind of practice the part-time witch thing.
Mm-hmm.
And Goddess Rhonda and myself, we are not part-time witches.
Mm-mm.
We're all the way in. We're deep, knee, breath, head over toes.
That's right. That's right.
All the way. It's either what it is, whatever it is, whatever path you've taken, it's got to be entirely you. So that you're not living a lie. You can't lie to yourself. So that's the only thing I would say to people in terms of dictating a particular thing. You have to be true to yourself and your craft in whatever form that it takes.
Right.
Don't lie to yourself. Don't part-time it. Don't say I'm dipping my toes right now. And we know a lot of those, right, Rhonda?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
The dabblers.
Yeah, or the we've had a lot of those where they come in and they've taken classes. I'm sure you've had those where they've taken classes with you, and not even halfway through the year or by the end of the year, they become either a Christian or something else. And you're like, excuse me?
Right.
How could you go from I want to be a witch to being a Christian? I have no idea. But again, that's your thing. But maybe that's because it's something you had to go through and search as an adult and see if that's what's really calling you. Because one of the things witches don't do, we don't go out and we're not evangelical. We're not saving your asses. We're just not. It's not something that we say, oh, come join us with it and stuff and we preach to you. No. It has to be a calling. It has to call you.
Yes.
And then you reaching out and searching and saying, this is what I think is me. I would like to come and learn this from you. Mm-hmm. We've never, ever reached out to a person. They reach out to us. There's a difference. And so with that in mind, that means if you're coming to us about this, you have to stop lying to yourself and really be who you are supposed to be. That's my only dictating and saying, live up to it, in other words. And, I was going to mention the, coming out of the closet part. But again, that part, I can't dictate that to you. That's up to you because of your lifestyle and, you don't want to live your witchcraft at work. That's different.
Right.
Work is a means of support. So if you don't have the means to do that, I was lucky in my different jobs. I didn't care. I wore my big ass tentacle right in the front of me and, oh my goddess, whatever it is. And I didn't even look down or think about it. It's so much a part of me that I didn't think about it. So when someone brought it to my attention and they reached out to grab it, I'm like, excuse me? That I reach out for your cross. At no time that I touch your cross or reach out for it. That's invasion of space. Don't touch. But at no time did anyone say I couldn't wear it. At no time did anyone say that's offensive or anything to me. Again, I was lucky in the different jobs and businesses that I had. Not everyone is that lucky and is not able to wear or do whatever, and they lose their jobs. So I can't dictate that part for you, and no one should. But I'm just saying that part about the being true to yourself. Okay, that's something that you have got to do. Because the only person you'll be lying to is yourself.
Yes.
Okay, and this is not a lifestyle that's I'm going to dip my toes or dabble or anything. It's not. It really isn't. Okay?
I agree. You're absolutely right. In fact, it can be actually very dangerous to dabble in things because you don't really know what you're doing. You're utilizing energies, you're opening portals, and you have no idea of what you're doing, and things can really backfire very badly on you. For the dab. Believe me, I've had to fix a lot of dabblers that have really messed up, as Goddess Star has too. So it really is important to commit yourself to this. And I'm assuming if you're watching the show, you probably are committed and you do want to learn more. Alrighty, so what have we got? Let's see what we've got coming up next on my little list here. I think we're good with, okay, with the chat room. We'll come back to that. All right, let me bring up my list again of things to go over with you. Okay, so the next things that I wanted to tell you about is I want to kind of touch back on being spirit-led and actually trusting that voice, because it can be, you know, you might, especially if you're new at this and you want to do everything right and you want to please all the spirits and do all those things, and you might be in the middle of doing a spell and a spirit, or you might hear somebody whisper something, you know, not, I mean that figuratively, like I don't expect you to hear like a voice literally in your ear, but you might get the idea or a message through your head that says you're supposed to do something else with the spell, and that you might second guess yourself, like, I don't know, maybe I shouldn't do it, but I got to do this. Go ahead and do this, because, you know, I've learned a tremendous amount just through being spirit-led, and I wanted to demonstrate one of those things to you. I don't know if this is in a book anywhere, if anyone else does this. I can't say. All I can say is that this was given to me directly from the divine when I was doing some candle work. And what they were telling me was, you know, when I do candle work, when you're doing candle work, it's important to recognize that the flame that you're working with is an actual living entity. It's an element that is helping you. It's alive. And so when you're doing your work and you're talking to, you know, make sure that you're addressing the flame and saying, you know, hello, dear sacred patron element of fire. Thank you so much for laboring for me during this spell work. Please marry your energies with what it is, you know, whatever else I have going on with me. If I have stones or whatever, please marry your energies and to bring me what I want. And then, of course, I'll always have my incense going too. Well, I was doing a spell one day and I had a voice whisper to me that, you know, fire is a partner of air. There is no fire without air. Air and fire are buds. They work together to create. So what they had me do was, of course, naturally you're going to empower your incense. So let's just say, so what I do with my incense is, because you know, if I'm using a stick incense, because I often will also use my cauldron, but a lot of times I will use stick incense too, because I look at that as a wand. So the first thing I'll do is I'll say, I charge thee to become a wand for me and fulfill my intention-filled energies. Work with my intention-filled energies to create whatever it is that I'm trying to create. I empower my thing, my incense, and I would light it. Well, what Spirit told me to do was to go ahead, if I can get it lit, and empower my flame, my candle, and my air. And of course, you're talking directly to the awesome element of air, because it's not so much the herbs and the oils. I mean, they work together with their energies too, but then they're now culminating in the element of air, the programmed element of air, but the air again is live. So what they had me do, let me just fix this because I think that's going to a little too big there. I think that'll be okay. Was okay, so I'm hoping that you can see the smoke of this incense, because it's hard for me to see it. I can see it a little bit. I wish I had here. I'll use this so that you can see the smoke. I think this will help. Thankfully, I have my little black washcloth here. So if I hold it in front of the washcloth, then you can see the smoke. I'm trying to hold the washcloth straighter. Just bear with me, everybody. I'm getting it together. Okay, here we go. All right, so now you can probably see the smoke better in front of the black washcloth, which I'll lower. So you see separately the air is going and the fire is going. But if you put the incense in with the candle, do you see how the smoke is gone? It's no longer coming out and it's being surrounded and absorbed by the flame. I don't know if you can see very well the smoke inside the flame, inside with the candle. Now the flame is sucking in the air, and now you can say, my dear patron, my dear sacred patron, brothers, the dear element of fire and dear element of air, please marry your energies and bring to me, create for me, attract to me, grant to me, whatever it is that I'm trying to do. So I'm going to put this black washcloth up again, and you can see there's no smoke coming out of the candle because it's all being absorbed in with the flame. When I take the incense out, then you can see the smoke. Now I'm going to put it back in, and I'll see if I can bring it a little closer so that you can see maybe a little bit better. So here they are separately, and then when I put it in, you can see the smoke going around the flame and dancing around the inside, and they're joining together to work for me. So that's not something I've seen in any book I've ever looked at. It was something that was given directly to me. So now I'm passing it on to you so that you can see how air and fire will combine and marry their energies and work for you. You can see the air dancing around the flame instead of coming out of the top of the candle. They're working together to do what I want them to do. And then once I've got them all empowered and working out, then I'll remove my incense, which you can see is still, once I take it out, then the incense is burning upward. It's not burning towards the candle, but then when I put it inside, you can see that it's dancing around the flame instead of coming out at the top, and they're working together. So that's my tip, is A, to recognize that when you're doing any kind of element work, be it a candle or air or water or earth, whatever it is, that you're dealing with a live energy. So don't, when you're programming your candle, after you've finished with all of your stuff and you've got your candle lit, talk to the flame, because it's the flame that is laboring for you for the next 7 days. That's what's sending your energy out. Be nice. Hello, how you doing, my dear sacred brother, element of fire? Thank you so much for your help. Bring it a present, bring it a quarter, bring it a candy, bring it something every day as your candle is burning, because that is a live entity working for you, as with the element of air. And when you think about it, even when you're burning incense, it's still fire and air working together, the same as the flame. So when you put them together, then you've got it even more magically working. So hopefully you can see how the incense smoke is staying and swirling around the flame and inside instead of coming out of the top like it does when I take it out. So that's something that was gifted to me, and I have gotten so much information through Spirit because I ask for it. I ask them to teach me, and because I also show devotion. It is very important. It's like dealing with friends. If I didn't know Goddess Star very well, and I called up Goddess Star and I said, Goddess Star, I'm in bad shape. I need $1,000. Well, Goddess Star doesn't know me like that. She might say, well, I don't have it. I don't know. But she doesn't really know me. She doesn't know me. She doesn't know if I'm going to give her the money back or whatever. I could be anybody. However, because I'm so close to Goddess Star, I could call Goddess Star and say, hey, Goddess Star, I'm in trouble. I need $1,000. And if she has it, she'll give it to me because we've developed a relationship that she knows she can trust me and I'm going to give her that money back. Developing relationships is very important. So it's the same thing when you go constantly to deity, whichever deity that you're talking to, and saying, oh, I need this, and I need money, and I need a job, and I need food, and I need shelter, and I need a boyfriend, and I need these things, and you're giving absolutely nothing back. That's the equivalent of that person who calls you up and asks for things and never does anything for you. It's very important for you to establish devotion, to show gratitude, to say thank you. Every day when I prepare a meal, I prepare a separate full plate for my gods and goddesses, my ancestors, my spiritual brothers and sisters, my mentors that are spiritual. I feed them every day. I show devotion. I light candles to them every day. I light incense. I show that, yes, I love you. I am so grateful for you. I don't ask for something all the times. I just want to show that I am dedicated to you, so that when I do ask for a favor, they're going to be more likely to comply, because they're like, oh, look at this chick. She feeds us every day. She shows devotion. She tells us she loves us. She promotes us through her ceremonies. She's really serious about this. She's established a relationship with us. She's family. Let's help her out. So it does really help you to establish relationships with the deities that you deal with, of course. But also you can start off, if you're not sure, because a lot of people are like, well, I don't know which goddess I want to use or which god or whatever. I've said this before and I'll say it again. Start with your own patrons that were assigned to you when you were born. And that's dependent on, what your sign is. So if you're an Aries, that means the planet Mars and the god Mars and the element of fire was assigned to help you through your life. Start making friends with them. Make offerings to Mars or make offerings to fire. You can start a fire if you have a cauldron, and you can offer, candies. You can start a fire in your cauldron. I buy these little wood chips. Like I have cherry wood chips and cedar wood chips, different little wood chips that I create a little fire in my cauldron. And then I do devotions to the element of fire. I'll throw in flowers or candy or a little spot of wine, something to show gratitude, because I do a lot of candle magic. Even though I'm all water pretty much, I need fire to balance me. So that fire helps me out. So you want to show devotion. You don't want to just be the person that's always asking for handouts and you don't give anything back. Develop relationships. Be good to your patrons. If you're a water sign, when you're running water in this kitchen sink, throw some sugar or some honey to the element of water, thanking you so much. Please accept, I'm so grateful for all that you do for me. Please accept my offerings with my gratitude, my blessings. May it strengthen you, may it empower you, may it prosper you, may it please you. And please continue to bless me as well. And thank you so much for that. And you can do that with the element of earth. There's all kinds of things, but you really should, would really benefit you to establish relationships, talk to them, light a candle. If you're a fire sign, light a candle and say, you know what, candle, I had a really hard day today. And, I really would appreciate, I appreciate the warmth that you're giving me. It's so comforting that you're comforting me like this. Just looking into your flame helps me out. Talk to your people. Develop relationships. This is your first line, your personal army, your personal mentors, your personal guides. They were assigned to you at birth to help you. Establish relationships with them. If you decide that you're going to be working with a specific god or goddess, establish a relationship with that god or goddess before you start asking, even before you even start asking for favors. Establish a relationship. And you're going to find, especially as a solitary, that gods and goddesses will come to you. And, when they do, you look at that as an honor. You show respect. You make an offering and you say thank you, and you get to know them. So getting to know your own personal army, your own personal team of teachers and protectors will really, really benefit you. And you can start off by utilizing those who were assigned to you at birth. Now, if you're fortunate enough, and there's a website called astro.com. Here, I'll put it here while I'm thinking about it. I'll put it in the chat room for you. You can go to that website and you can put in your information, although that you do need to know what time you were born, astro.com. And then what you can do is find out what your moon sign and your rising sign, because there you've got 3 sets of guides to help you. So your moon sign is how you think. So if you've got issues where you're going to school or you need to figure a problem out or whatever it is that's going on in your head that you need to fix, then you could go, let's say, even though my sun sign is a Pisces, my moon sign is Capricorn, which makes Saturn the ruler of my moon, the ruler of my mind. So I'm going to say, hey, Saturn, I have this issue. I cannot figure it out. Could you please help me? Or element of earth, which represents Capricorn. Can you please help me out? I'm trying to figure out how to do something. If I want to change my appearance, my rising sign or my ascendant is how I project to the world. So you might see me as an extrovert, because here I am, I'm on YouTube, I'm on, putting myself out there, because my rising sign is Leo, and Leo likes the limelight. I'm actually a very introverted Pisces, but you don't know that because I project as a Leo. So if I wanted to, let's say, lose weight or change my appearance or look younger or look older, whatever it is I wanted to do, then I would call on the sun, who represents Leo. I would call on fire to help me out. So, I mean, you can break it down as far as you need to, but it is important. But right there, I've got 3 sets of people to help me. I've got the people who represent Pisces, that's Jupiter, Neptune, and water. I've got my moon sign, so I've got Saturn and Earth to help me out. And I've got my rising sign, I've got the sun and fire to help me out. That's 3 sets of guides and mentors and teachers that are right here, right now, to help me in everything that I'm trying to do. And by establishing relationships with them, you know, it really does become family. You now become their family. They're your brothers and your sisters, your siblings, and they're willing to help you out. So, and I see in the chat room says, any advice if my mother won't tell me what time I was born? Yes. If you go to whatever state you are in, if you go to their records, I think it's, oh God, I can't think of what you call it. If you just put in birth certificates, let's say you're from Georgia. If you put in birth certificates, Atlanta, Georgia, that division of their government will come up, and you can ask for a copy of your birth certificate, and there'll be a little box that'll say check if you want the time. Because don't just order it. They won't just necessarily give you the time. Check the box that says to show the time, and I think those are like $10, and you can get a copy of your birth certificate with the time on it. So you don't even have to ask your mother if you don't want to. You can do that right before. So anyways, I was saying, so Goddess Star, what do you think about getting to know your own personal deities and patrons that are assigned to you at birth?
Absolutely. There's all of those, and you've kind of named them all off, girl. You should do them all. You do them, all of them. And the others that you work with are whatever deities that are also calling on you, because sometimes they're not with part of the ones that you've been born with.
Mm-hmm.
And then adding to the ones that Goddess Rhonda said, there's your guardian angel as well. If you work with angels, you know, you're born with them.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can work with the angels as well. And the elements that you work with, or the elementals that you work with, depending on what it is that you want to do. There are so many, what you call your spirit allies that they're out there for you to work with. I remember Crystal Penzak actually wrote a book called Spirit Allies.
Mm-hmm.
You should really look that book up, written by Crystal Penzak. I can't even, I don't know, girl, it's like everything is going on with my laptop. It's all gone off entirely.
I know.
Don't know what it's, but anyways, so Christopher then that book, if you can write that in for them about spirit allies, look that up. It actually goes into detailing just about everything that Goddess Rhonda said, as well as others that you can access. Any deities that tap on your shoulder, and they will, because everywhere you go, you either see them or you running into them and you didn't even know about them before. That happened with me with the Goddess Yamaya. I knew nothing about her, and I think I've mentioned that to you a few times, right, Goddess Rhonda?
Yes, ma'am.
And you know, and I have to learn about her, and I, you know, and it's not one that I've ever thought of. So it's they reach out to you in one form or another, especially because, like I said, everyone is essentially a solitary in some way.
Right.
So they will reach out to you. And again, I'll tell you something. It's so funny. We were discussing this online with Christian Day, because he said that he's so tired of seeing people say that they're only following whatever ancestral path that they're following right now.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning that if you're Black, they go with the Orishas. If you're Scottish, you go with the Santeria or things like that. And it's like he said, we have been here many a lifetime. I said that to him. Mm-hmm. We've been here many a lifetime, many races, many genders, and we have discussed this many a time, Goddess Rhonda.
Mm-hmm.
And the skin that you're in right now is just what it is, the skin that you're in right now.
Right.
So you've been through all these many lifetimes. Go with what your soul is calling out to you for. Let them reach out to you, mm-hmm. and you reach out to them in turn. And it doesn't matter where or what tradition they're from, mm-hmm. or what part of the world. You know, they don't care about your skin color and where you are, who you are right now. They care about the mentoring and the relationship you create with one another. So, as Goddess Rhonda said, create that relationship, respect for one another, in terms of like, showing, honoring them, speaking to them, learning to get to know them. Because I'll tell you something, there is no way you are going to invite a stranger into your home, then come knocking on your door, hi, can you give me so-and-so? I've never seen you, we've never met you. No, you will be like, excuse me, I don't even know who you are, and you will shut your door. Right?
Yeah.
The same thing goes with all the deities, all the different allies. You have to gain and have a relationship with them. Introduce yourself. Get to know them. Find out their likes and dislikes. Show them yours. Show them what you would like for your life. Honor them. Worship them. Work with them. And then, don't always be, because, again, I'll tell you something. I don't think they like very much that all certain witches do is ask for things. They never say, I'm so happy to have you here, and I'm honored to be with you, and honor them daily. They don't do any of that. They're just asking for things constantly. I want this, and I want that, and I want the other, like little kids. That's not the way life works. And you have to relate everything to reality of what it is, and learn to see it for what it is, and that, give respect the same way that you would want to be treated is the same way you would want to treat and work with your spirit allies and your deities and, the different things that you're working with.
Right.
Just respect, just straight up respect. I got to find my list of everything that I had here. That's just one in following up with what Goddess Rhonda said. Then there's another thing that I think that as a solitary, I believe that you should really, if you're going to be if you are a solitary, a lot of times they would email me and say, but can I worship and do my Esbat and Sabat by myself? And I'm like, well, why wouldn't you?
Right.
Anyone can do solitary ritual at home. Because, yes, and I'll tell you something, I have had people, you would not believe this, over the years, that I have said, oh yeah, I do ritual, and they're like, you're allowed to do ritual? And I'm like, I'm sitting there on my phone going, are they kidding me? This person just tell me that I'm asking if I'm allowed to do ritual?
Right.
I'm like, you are allowed to do ritual. No one is going to prevent you from doing that. You've probably been doing it all along. So no one dictates that to you. But do your Esbat, do your Sabat.
Mm-hmm.
If you cannot go out publicly to create that energy with a group or anything to do a ritual or even online, then do it yourself at home. There's no one that can stop you. Just create your ritual around that particular, like Marbon just went by. Oh, blessed Marbon, everyone.
Right.
I'm happy Marbon. But you can create that ritual at home in a solitary manner for yourself. And you still honor your tradition of who and what you are. Right. And that means your full moon and your new moons and everything else.
Right.
So, and by the way, a little bit of what you call magical jargon. The full moon and the new moon is considered the Esbat, and then of course the Sabbats are the 8 Sabbats that we have during the year.
Mm-hmm.
And we generally celebrate them, both Goddess Rhonda and myself. And that's all part of saying that's who we are. We live it, we breathe it. We are witches. We are who we are. And that's something that I would suggest to everyone in general. And it's something that I've seen people say, well, I don't think I can practice that alone by myself. Mm-hmm. I have to meet with people to do that. Mm-hmm. No, you don't need to do that, sweetie.
Right.
You can do it all by yourself. Hold on one second. If you can just go ahead for a minute, Goddess Rhonda, while I find my notes on the computer now that it's back up.
Oh, okay, sure. All right. So then the next thing that I wanted to talk about is breaking down your spell request, because a lot of people I found will cast a spell and then they'll say, oh, well, the spell didn't work. Well, it could be, well, first of all, in my opinion, spells do work. It might not work the way you wanted it to work, but I can pretty much guarantee you something has changed. You might not see it because you're so focused on the outcome that you were hoping for that you might be missing what was actually manifested for you, or it might come through a back door. But with that said, it's very important to really break down your spell so that it's about what it is that you really want. I've talked about this before, but I'll go ahead and mention it again. So let's just say, for example, that you want to have a better job. You want a job that's really going to pay you lots of money and give you the lifestyle you want. So you cast a spell for a better job, and a better job doesn't materialize. Well, maybe it wasn't the better job you should have cast for. So when you think about it, what I do, I call it my upside down ladder of success, where I'll start at the top at what my goal is. My goal is I want to have a better job. So in order for me to get the better job, the next rung on the ladder down is I need the skills that are going to get me this better job. So then I'm like, okay, what do I need to get the skills to get the better job? Then the next rung down is, well, it means I'm going to have to go back to school and get a better education. Okay, so now we're three rungs down. So what do I need to go to school to get a better education? Well, I'm going to have to get some money because school costs money. So that means I need to look in loans and grants and things like that. So your real spell is you need money to go to school, and you need resources to do that, be it grants or loans or whatever. So you want the spell to get the money to go to school, because without going to school, you're not going to get the skill level that you need to raise yourself up to where you want to go to. So you might be saying, I want a job that makes me $1,000 a week or $2,000, whatever it is, but your skill set is not worthy, basically, of that income level. That means you've got to get your skill set up. That means you've got to go to school. So instead of casting for the better job, which you're not prepared for, it's better to cast for the money so that then you can get the money, go to school, have the better skills, and get the job. Do your spells in steps to get to the result. Don't just try to jump up to the top of the ladder when you haven't even gone through the rungs. Because if it's one thing to want a better job and to make more money, but if you don't have the skill set to do that, or the requirements that higher level of salary needs or demands, then that's the real spell that you need to be casting, is to get the resources to go to school, to increase your skills, to get that better job. And so or if you're looking for a new person to date, and you're ready, you've just been through this horrible broken heart, and you're finally ready to get out there again and try it again. You're still nervous because you've just been hurt and you're a little gun shy, but you go ahead and you cast a love spell because you want to bring someone into your life. Well, if you're still feeling hurt and conflicted and distrustful from your old relationship and pissed off about that and bitter, I guarantee you that that is going to interfere with your spell. And quite frankly, if you're still feeling that, you're not ready for a new relationship. So what you might want to do instead is, instead of casting a love spell for a love that you're not ready for yet because you're still angry with the last person, you haven't put that in the rear view mirror so that you can go forth yet, then what you might want to do instead is to do a waning moon spell. And as the moon wanes, ask her to take away that bitterness and heal it. The moon is a very healing energy, and when it wanes, we can use that to get rid of things that we don't need. And so you can use the waning moon. I have a video for it on my channel on how to use the waning moon, and use the waning moon to take away and heal you on all levels from that bitterness, from whatever it is that you felt that relationship took from you, to heal from that first, to remove those feelings of distrust, to remove those feelings of a lack of confidence because you've been hurt before and your judgment was off. Anything that needs to go into the rear view mirror or you have to empty your emotional garbage can, go ahead and clear out all that old debris first so that you really can have a new beginning. Because otherwise, you're really not getting a new beginning. And you can be bringing in that old baggage that's going to weigh you down and make you distrust your new relationship. Your new partner might be perfectly trustworthy. But if if your old partner cheated, now you're watching this one and looking at his phone every time it goes off, who's texting you, what's going on, you can ruin that whole new relationship, because technically, emotionally, you're still involved with the old relationship. You're still there. You haven't let it go. And so that you might want to use a waning moon therapy to take the old away. Something that's going to heal you from the damage that was done to you in your old relationship and get you ready and cleaned up for a brand spanking new relationship. That is really important because it does, you know, I've had a lot of people come in and say to me, oh, you know, I'm so lonely. I can't find a new relationship. What is it? Why am I so stuck? And we'll pull some cards, and it never fails that it will show because they're still living in that old relationship. They're living with the ghost of an old relationship. And that ghost is interfering with someone new coming in. So first we've got to get rid of the ghosts. We've got to put all that stuff in the rear view mirror, get our confidence back up, and then get out there. Because I'll tell you, when you're downtrodden from a crappy relationship that happened, and you go out and you're trying to meet someone new, that aura of feeling sad and distrustful and comes with you into that club with you or the bar or wherever it is that you're going. And people pick up on the energies. And if a guy or a girl, you know, whatever gender you're going for, you know, might be interested in you, but sees that you're all depressed and you're carrying this energy, they might be, I don't know if I want to go over there and deal with that kind of energy. They may leave you alone. Or even worse, the people who know how to read you and use that against you because you're now in a vulnerable state, they might read you and then say all the things that you want to hear to suck you in, and then go ahead and cheat on you or whatever else. And it's not going to be, you know, the relationship that you were hoping for. So you might want to, if you're before casting a love spell, say, okay, you know what, before I cast this love spell, then I'm going to first, I need to get rid of this bitterness I feel, or I need to get rid of this distrust that I feel, or I don't feel very confident in myself because my last partner diminished me. It didn't make me feel very good about myself. So I need to get my confidence level up. I need to feel better about myself. Break it down to what you really need. And then once you've gotten yourself together, then go ahead and do your love spell to bring someone new who resonates with you harmoniously, who's going to treat you with the respect that you treat them with, you know, a nice, even give and take, because then you'll be spiritually, emotionally, and mentally prepared for it instead of, you know, casting for something that you're really not ready for yet, which will probably then end in disaster anyway. So that is my next tip, and take it away, Goddess Star.
Okay, great. Actually, what I wanted to kind of go over, because we ran into that a bit, I mean, not poking at anyone in particular, but, you know, just a little bit of magical jargon. Because when we speak, you know, we're speaking with the thought that maybe you know all the words that we're saying, and we don't know for sure if you do. Is there anyone in the chat room that had anything to say before I continue?
Yes, there is. Let me take a look because I do see it scrolling. So let me scroll up. Okay, we got that part. We talked about that. We've got the Queen Belkis. I hope I'm saying your name correctly. She is divining what her birth time is. Good for you. And there's a lot of people in the chat room helping you. Thank you, everyone, for chipping in and helping our goddess Queen Belkis with her issue about finding what time she was born. I think that's beautiful that you're all helping each other and supporting each other. That's an awesome thing. And then let's see. So we've got that conversation going on. And then we've got, and it just keeps scrolling as I'm talking, so please just bear with me because I have to keep moving it. Then we've got, that's him. Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you, that's him, for saying that I look beautiful. I'm sure, you know, and then Debbie says, you know, we're all beautiful here. And yes, all of you guys are absolutely beautiful and gorgeous and kind and sweet. And but I do thank you so much for that compliment. That makes my day. Thank you. Just lifted me right up. And I do appreciate that. That's him. Thank you so much. And thank you, everyone, for being so supportive of each other. I just love seeing this. It's just awesome. But we do have a question from Debbie, who says, would it be wise to part with items that people from this bad groove gave me over time and cut the connection? Well, that all depends. You can either chuck them out, and there's no problem with that. But if you find them to be useful, you know, I would purify them and remove their energy from it, return their energy to whoever gave it to you, and then bring down light and cleanse it. And you can go ahead. I mean, if they're useful tools, because witches don't waste. That's one thing witches do not do. If we can use it, we're going to go ahead and use it. You can cleanse it, you know, smudge it out, remove all those nasty energies from it, return the energies back to those people, and then you can, or leave it in the sun for a week, just clean it out and use it for yourself, but do remove those other people's energies from it. Or if you're still uncomfortable with it, go ahead and toss them out. It's going to be up to you what you want to do with it. I personally, when I have things, and I have things that were given to me from someone who turned out to be a true creep. There's no other way to describe him. He's a creep. But they were really nice. They were really nice necklaces and jewelry. There's no way I was throwing those out. So I cleansed them. I returned his energy to him. I purified them. I infused them with my own energies and asked my lords and ladies to bless them for me. And now I use them all the time, and it doesn't have their gunky energy on it. So, you know, I'm not going to tell you just go ahead and chuck them out, because if you can use them, use them. But if you're uncomfortable, then by all means, you can go ahead and throw them out. What do you think about Debbie's question, Goddess Star?
I think you're absolutely right. You pretty much answered it in the sense of, it depends on how you feel.
Right.
Part of it is exactly like Goddess Rhonda said, you can send it and work with it if that's what you still want. If you do not, because of that relationship, feel an affinity anymore, then yeah, by all means, you can get rid of it if that's what you wish to do. But if you want to keep it, just cleanse it and go with it from there and take it and turn it into something that's a positive use for you.
Right.
Just like anything else in life, we can recycle things.
Yes.
They take plastic and they recycle it the same way you can take it and recycle it back to you in a way that you, because you like that particular item and it keeps being for you.
Right.
It's the same thing that we do with what you call it, vintage items. I love vintage clothing. I love vintage ornaments and different things. And because they've been in other people's homes, or some of them are really, really old, they've picked up things over the time, you have to cleanse it and work with it because you love it. You want to keep it. So it's the same concept that you're going to be doing for that.
Right.
Yeah. I kind of wanted, no, we have very little time, but I wanted to kind of cover something because we've seen it, we've witnessed it ourselves, and with people, either their enunciation of words over time because they've read it and never really heard some of the words. And we are saying words to you that we are presuming that you know what they mean.
Right.
So if you know, I would love to have us share some of that, Goddess Rhonda, and go over what the meanings are that we know of. And we could be standard corrected as well if you know other meanings with it. We're glad to hear it. And if you'd like to hear some meanings of certain words and what they mean, we'd gladly answer that for you as well.
Mm-hmm.
So some of them was from some of the simplest to the very what could be considered difficult people. But for example, when we mentioned Book of Shadows earlier, most of you or all of you should know what that means. But also, a lot of people do not know. We consider it similar to what you call, like we spoke about it before, as a magical cookbook. But the original name was grimoire. And according to what they say research-wise, Book of Shadows was more of a newer thing that came about as the time went by. That they called it that. But it was more that big old grimoire book that they had. Yes. Or just, you know, diary book that people kept back then, and they just called it that old book. It was, you know, in modern times, that's what they call it. And yeah, you would hear some people call it a grimoire, and it's the same thing, essentially. And there we have the affirmate. Sounds simple, but a lot of people either don't know how to pronounce it, or they don't know what it is, or never even heard of it. But unless it wasn't, say, like Charmed or something like that, I don't remember if they had affirmate in the Charm, did they?
I don't think so, but I have mine next to me. So here is an Autonomy. It's one that I've decorated it, but if you didn't know what it was, here it is.
Because when we assume, sometimes we found out that
that's
people
true.
They didn't want to say that they did not know what we meant, and then later on would privately ask us. And we don't want to put anyone on the spot or anything, but I'll tell you something: we don't all know everything. So if you want to know a particular thing on what they are or not, we gladly answer the question. And there's no one here to judge you. We are all here learning from one another.
Mm-hmm.
The word vanish. It sounds very simple, but how would you describe it in magical words, Goddess Rhonda?
When if you tell me something, if I'm going to banish something, I'm going to completely remove it from
Yeah.
my life. Totally. It's going to be literally, it's banished. It's not coming back. It's gone forever. Forever coming back to me. That's when you tell me to banish. That is my definition of banish.
Yeah, and that's mine too. And that can work for just about anything, from that abusive person or ex or whatever it is to, a friendship that is no longer a friendship. It's very damaging. You banish things that are no longer necessary in your life. You let it go.
Right.
Again, it could be very therapeutic. Same thing. I don't believe necessarily in binding too much, but I get a lot of students that come and going, how can I bind whatever? And I'm like, excuse me, what are you trying to bind? Because binding is very serious.
Very serious.
They come in and I think they just learn terms and they don't really realize what they're coming in and asking.
Right.
And even at vanishing, it has to be reasons that you are beyond. You need to have this thing removed. It's that's why I mentioned abusive relationships, or because a lot of people have advised for vanishing is people who have had a lot of very destructive physical abusive relationships and things like that.
Right.
Or very people have banished evil. There's that affirmation, and things like that. And it's all part of the wording of things, and it's just the reason I brought up the magical jargon is because of what I've had people come to me very new, never done witchcraft, and that's one of the first things they're asking me about. So the binding part is very serious. Imagine, remember when, I'll put it to an analogy that everyone seems to understand. In the movie in the show Charmed, when the girl said, why did we not know of our magical, who we are until we were older? And grandma, I think what's her name, right? I can't remember her name in there. Their grandmother had bound them when they were kids because...
Yes, I remember.
You know what I mean? So it's just like, and she did it for a reason and it only broke when she died.
Right.
So this is what I mean about binding. A lot of times when you bind, it may work for a certain amount of time and until you die or something like that. But a lot of times it should be removed at a certain point because that person is now older and they can handle certain things.
Right.
You know what I mean? So you don't just go binding people. You really don't. You have to think carefully through what it is that you're doing with that and be very, very sure that that's something that you want to do. Think about it from all angles and what's right for you and them.
Right.
And a lot of times people are trying to bind someone. You know? So again, when you're binding, you're controlling.
Right.
So you have to think about all of these different things, you know? I don't know if you want to add anything else to that, Rhonda. It's just things I've heard from people over time, and I just want to let them know that.
Yeah, actually, I'm really glad that you brought up the binding aspect, because I had to explain to a male witch who had been living actually a pretty good life as an engineer on, like as a merchant marine, doing the drilling and working on the ships in Alaska and things like that. He was doing very well for himself. Well, he was afraid that his girlfriend was going to start, because he's always on the sea, open seas, for months and months at a time. He was concerned that his girlfriend might fall for another man. So he had someone do a binding spell for him to bind her to him. Well, right after that, his life fell apart. He wasn't able to get back on to a ship anymore. He had to take like a job that paid maybe a quarter of what he was used to making, and he's been pretty much stuck. And he was talking to me about it, and I said, well, when you bind someone to you, you also bind yourself to them. And if she can't go forward, guess what? Neither can you. So all you really did was create a prison for yourself. Now she can't move forward. You've taken away her free will. You've bound yourself. Now you're stuck here. You can't get back on the ships. You can't. Nothing you're doing is working. You're taking all these, very low-paying jobs because you're stuck here. It's like you just, no matter what you do, you can't get out of here. And why? Because things work. You have to understand, magic and energy works both ways. So if you are binding someone to you, then guess what? you are bound to them. And now neither one of you can go anywhere because you've got these ropes holding you in place.
People just have to think about the things, and it's not, I guess I know the show is more of solitary, but solitary or even newsies or whatever, this is what some of the things that they talk to us about and ask about. And so that's the reason I wanted to kind of quickly stop on some of those things.
Yeah. That's actually good. That was good.
Yeah. Another thing was the word adept. A lot of them would look at me and go, what does APT mean? And I said, well, adept just means that it's a word that's becoming very proficient at whatever part of her craft. She's getting better and better. And a lot of times it's because they're trying to get to be either a priest or a priestess or something in their tradition or whatever it is. So they want to become very adept and well-known or well-knowledged of everything that they're trying to do. They want to study and become more proficient. So whatever you're studying or whatever books, or majority of times when they're trying to become adept is because they're trying to take classes to become even better at their craft.
Right.
And so they become proficient in whatever it is. And so that's what the adept part means. And it's something as simple as, do you want to add to that, Goddess?
No, I think that you're right. I'm glad that you're actually bringing up the vocabulary, because that didn't even occur to me. It's, I assume that everybody knows what I'm talking about. That's my bad, that I'm just assuming that everybody knows. So I'm really glad that you
know about that.
I'm glad that you're bringing all that up, because that is important. A lot of people don't know what an adept is or any of the things that you're saying, and they might be too ashamed to ask because they don't want to look like a newbie. And that's something, actually, let's go ahead and talk about that for a minute. Don't be ashamed to ask questions. There is no such thing as a stupid question. If you're new at this, and especially when you're dealing with energies and magic and things like that, it is better to go ahead and ask your questions so that you can be clear on what it is that you want. Don't ever feel like, oh, well, if I ask a question, it's going to look like I don't know anything. And that's okay. You know what? I have been doing this, let's see now, for more than 4 decades. It's, I hate dating myself like this, but it is what it is. And guess what? I still ask questions. I ask questions all the time. I'm constantly studying something new or looking something up, or I'll be on Facebook and I'll see a post about something I don't know anything about. I'm like, oh, what's that? I'm going to go and do research on it. I'm always learning. Goddess Star and I have said this 1,000 times. A good witch never stops learning. I ask questions all the time. I'm constantly trying to expand my knowledge. I'm curious and I want to know. And so I will never be the one that's going to pretend to know something I don't know. I'm going to say, excuse me, if you say, oh, talking to me about a modality or a certain way to use a spell or whatever it is that I've never heard of, I'm going to be the first one to say, can you please explain that to me? I'd like to learn more. Where can I learn more about that? Is there a book? I want to know some more about that. Help me out here. Because that's how you learn, is by asking questions. And that's okay. It's, you can be, I don't care if you've been practicing witchcraft for 80 years, keep asking the questions. It's important to do that. And don't ever feel ashamed to ask a question. If you need to know, you need to know. And if someone gives you crap about it, like, oh, you don't know anything, I can't deal with you, guess what? You don't need to deal with that person. So send them on their way, because true witches will help you and tell you, okay, this is what you do, or at least here is a book for you to read, or here's a website, or here's some information or something, so that then you can take that and run with it and then expand it on your own. I mean, don't expect someone to sit there and explain everything to you. People are very busy. But if they can at least give you a book or a website to get you started, and then you can pick up the, the path from there and keep traveling on it, as far as you choose to, then by all means, ask your questions. Because it could be very important for you to know this information for the evolution of your own soul, your own magic, your own practice. It's important.
Yeah. And also, I'm very glad that Goddess Rhonda mentioned how many decades or whatever. And I'm the similar way too. Because my elder, and I know a lot of you guys have heard of her. If you don't, look up the name, Lori Cabot. She was my elder. And I have to tell you, I learned a lot from her. And to have this woman stand in front of me, who, when I met her back in 1994, you know, this woman was already practicing a good 4 or 5 decades, you know, or most of her life. And for her to tell me, you never stop learning. She said, I don't know everything. You're not going to know everything. None of us knows everything. So we're always going to be asking. We're always going to be learning, because that's how we evolve in our craft. And gosh, Rhonda is absolutely right. So don't let anyone ever feel like they know everything. They do not. It's absolute bullshit. Okay? So in going on with some of the words, something as simple as an altar. Okay? No matter what, that's your sacred space. And again, we would talk about it, and then I realized afterwards, you know, I'm not even sure if they know what an altar is, because you know that's your sacred space. That's your place where you put all the things that you have, you know, all these sacred things to the deity and the different things, and the worship was there. You know, it's part of who your craft is at home. So solitary, your altar is everything.
Right.
You know, it's where they feel the most sacred, the most centered. Wherever it is. Mine is on top of a dresser in my bedroom.
So is mine.
You know, and it doesn't matter where it is, but that's your altar. And whether you have many altars or one, it's a sacred space for you. Do you want to add to that before I move on to the next one?
No, I think that you covered it, you know, very well. Your altar, my altar is also my main. Actually, I have altars throughout my apartment. But my main altar is, my main one is in my bedroom because it's private. I don't want it exposed to everyone else's energies. But even when you're traveling, you know, when I went to New York this summer, you know, I didn't have, of course, I don't have my big dresser with me, but the little table that was in my hotel room served me perfectly. I brought my own little supplies. You know, you could make a little traveling altar kit with some candles. You know, you can't burn incense inside, but you don't need to burn incense all the time. You know, or even if you can't use the, because I know someone actually who went to a hotel, and she was using tea lights to do her devotionals at night, and she forgot to throw the little aluminum thing that the candle comes in away, and the maid saw it, and the maid actually reported her for burning candles in the room, and it was a big to-do. So I said, you know, you can get in, I know they sell them at the Dollar Tree. I'm sure other people sell them too. And they're electronic tea light candles where it's battery operated, but it's got a light. It's shaped like a little candle. And it doesn't matter if it's an actual flame. You know, electricity represents the element of fire anyway. So you can go ahead and have an electronic flame and do your spell work from that. But, you know, your altar is your sacred space. You know, you shouldn't let strangers or people come in and pick up your objects and things. You keep your stuff to yourself, so that it's got, you know, your stuff, your energies into it. But I'm glad that you're bringing all this up. So go ahead and move on to your next one.
Okay. This one's was what the reason that I started this whole thing, the word coven.
It's a private joke. I'm laughing. Go ahead.
We just assume, you know, that people may know how to enunciate it or what it means, and they don't. And this could be anybody, you know. So it's pronounced coven, and it's literally speaking, a coven is usually an odd number, and it can have it from the number 3 to 13. That's usually the top with covens in terms of how they run it. If they go beyond that, it means they hive off and they form another coven. But generally, that's how it is. And it's just basically a group that decide, unlike us that has a temple that's open to everyone, that group is only working with those 3 people or 13 people, up to 13 people, and they don't go beyond that, and they get to know them really well, and they sometimes work for 20, 30 years working with each other and learning to become more adept at things and everything, and they only want to study with each other. And they don't generally, they're very private. They don't generally wish to have anyone come in. You have to be invited in.
Right.
And because only if maybe somebody passed on, or if the group imploded and, you know, something happened, you know, things like that. But, you know, it's, But I just had to bring that word in there too. But that's the reason why I actually brought it up, because we always assumed that people are in a witch for many years, and something as simple as the word as coven, and they didn't know what it was.
Right.
So they've only read it or something like that, and we don't want to presume or assume.
Right.
So there you go. Anything else you want to add to that one?
No, ma'am. You go ahead and rock on. I'm enjoying this because it really needs to be said.
What we consider our most powerful magical days or night would be our Esbat and the Sabat. Sabats are our high holy days. You know what I mean? And it's like the invoke, what you call it? Invoke,
Samhain.
I'm going down the list here. Lamas or Lunasa, either one. And I forgot in between Lissa. I'm so sorry. Lissa. We just had Mabon on the 23rd. And it's usually the four of them are on the equinoxes.
Yes.
So that and the next one that we have coming up is Samhain. That's our very high holy one. And that's on the 31st of October. And then after that we have the Yule. And then it starts over again with about 8 of them. That's our high Sabbat powerful days. And then the full new moon are the powerful days, and with the waxing of the moon. And of course, you can do spell work and work with the moon on any phases of it. But Esbats are great to work with, and that's called the Esbat. The new moon and the full moon and whatever other parts of the moon that you're working with, different phases. Again, do you want to add anything else to that part?
No, I think that you are rolling along, and I want you to fit in as much as possible, so keep right on rolling.
Okay, anyone in the chat room want to ask any particular one?
Let's see. Let me go to the chat room and see what's happening here. Bear with me for a moment while I bring up that page. Let's see. Well, we've got a hi from Costa Rica. Hi, Fabian. Thank you for joining us. And lastly, we've got some new people. Thank you so much, everyone who has joined us, even if it's late in the program. And because this will post immediately to video, I know a lot of people are watching the presidential debate right now. You can come back. If you missed the beginning, you can come back and watch it from the beginning if that's something that you choose to do. Let's see. So we've got, just looking for some questions here. We do have people backing us up about, asking questions even after 10 years and so forth. We've got someone, Jay Keys, like from 1990, still learning too. And you're always going to be learning, which is really cool. I think someone told me that I'm thicker than a bowl of oatmeal. Thank you. I'll take that as a compliment. Thank you so much. And then we've got, someone is asking, okay, does a good witch have to memorize everything? No, of course not. When you think of all of the knowledge that you're taking in with your books and unless your brain is a computer, there's no way you're going to memorize everything. I mean, if you can, rock on. Some people have memories like that. They have photographic memories where they can remember everybody. Unfortunately, that is not me. I can't. And there are also people that have challenges that can keep them from memorizing things. Like when I do ceremonies, when I do my online ceremonies, because they're always different, and they're very, very complex. We clean ourselves up. There's a lot of things that we do with that. Because I have Lyme disease, and back in when I got it in the 90s, because I was misdiagnosed for so long, it actually attacked my brain. And so I have a bad short-term memory. So it's difficult for me to memorize things because it'll go whoosh right out of my head because of what the damage that I suffered through my disease. And so I write everything down, that I'm going to do, because I, unfortunately, right now, at least, I don't have the capacity to memorize the extent of my ceremonies. My ceremonies are very long when you think of, in terms of ceremonies. And, I have to write things down. Otherwise, it'll go right out of my head. But I'm not going to let a challenge stop me from doing what I want to do, or doing the ceremonies, or, helping out or being of service. So I found, to work with that, I just write things down or type it out, and then I can follow it along and not have to worry about trying to memorize something when, you know, I have some challenges going on from, you know, the deer tick that I suffered from the Lyme disease. So there are other people that have had some sort of brain damage or memory function damage or something that could have gone on that can keep them from memorizing. That doesn't make them bad witches. It just means you have to write it down and read it. And there's nothing wrong with that. No one's going to look down on you for that. The deities that you're talking to aren't going to judge you because you're still working within your capacity, and you are not allowing a challenge to stop you. We all have challenges, and we're going to push through them. You've heard Goddess Star and I talk about our own physical challenges. My challenges with Lyme disease and my arthritis and my brain stuff, and we've got Goddess Star. She talks about her lupus all the time and how she goes through, she pushes through it anyway. You know, that's one of the things that we witches do, is that we persevere and we don't let pain and other things stop us. We just figure out how to work within those things and keep pushing forward despite it, while we still work on healing it and helping ourselves. There's nothing wrong with that. You know, you don't have to be a perfectly healthy, you know, superwoman witch to do things and memorize everything. And, you know, this isn't a TV movie. This is your real life. And if you've got some challenges that will keep you from memorizing things, you know, don't let that stop you. Write it down, refer to your books. Another excellent reason to have your grimoire / book of shadows. And thank you for bringing up the grimoire, because nobody says that anymore. So I'm glad that you brought that up. But you can't let challenges stop you. So the short answer to your question is no, you do not have to memorize everything. Do you feel like you have to memorize everything, Goddess Star?
I'm going to say, oh, hell no. Because I'll tell you something, I write the rituals with the majority of our group. And honestly speaking, when we get time to do it in the moment there, I do not know what it is, and I'm looking at it like I wrote that. I honestly did not remember writing it. So whatever the ritual is, I write up the rituals and I give it out to everyone. I give them their parts and everything. And when it comes to my part, I know what I have to say and I know what that part is. So, and because a majority of times it's done at nighttime and outside in the park, the lighting is not the best and my eyes are not the best. So I have a tendency to look at it and go, oh, it's spirit, okay. And I start saying whatever it is. Off of my head, and I'm not looking at the paper. Same as when, you know, the spell work part of the ritual, where I have to give them something that they need from this part of the ritual. Why are we meeting for this particular ritual? The S-Bat or flat. And I would know what I want to say. I know what I wanted them exactly to say. It's very profound, but for some reason, my eyes and everything else doesn't allow me to do that. So I end up saying it from heart, what I think at that time, and it works. You know, it just kind of falls into place. So I kind of go with that. And no, I honestly think that, especially if you're the one writing that ritual for yourself, you can write it all you want. A lot of times you honestly don't retain what you've written because you're in the zone. Whatever, and I honestly come out of ritual and I didn't realize the time went by, and I wrote this and I have no idea what I wrote. It's just, I don't know. It just takes over when I'm doing it. So I don't retain a lot of it. It's a blind side, I guess. I don't know. But it seems to be that way for a lot of us. But
no, you know, it is that way.
Do the best you can, and honestly, it works best straight from the heart. And especially if you're solitary and you're doing this at home, you know from your heart what you want to say. So what you can might do is write a list of the statements of, okay, I'm doing the casting right here, and I'm calling the quarters, and my spell work is here, and then my cakes and ale are here, or libation is here. Just put it in an order of the way you want it to go, and just say it from the heart.
There you go.
Because when you're doing solitary, like when you're doing group, again, ritual is done in a way where group and solitary are very different to me. Group is more ceremonial because you've got to go through certain things to please and energize for everyone that's there. That they leave with something, because that's the whole idea. You're in service of all of these people. When you're solitary, you're in service of yourself. So everything that you're doing is all based on you. So you can literally stand there rather than go to each individual corner I would sometimes, I guess you could call it being lazy, whichever way. I would stand there and go to the east, west, north, south, and I would do it like that and say, I call you all to be here and guard my circle. You know what I mean? And I'm casting just like that. I'm not going to each one individually, like which I do formally.
Right.
You know? So it all depends. You make it work and base it on what the situation is and where you are, and if you're by yourself.
Right.
If you want to formally by yourself, then you're welcome to do that. Again, it's just based on how you feel, and whether, again, that's another part. Whether you're calling the element or the elemental, or calling the watchtowers, or or rather, I should say, summoning the watchtowers, or the summoning the elementals and summoning the elements, because they're all different. Summoning and calling. Calling, you would call the goddess and the god, but you would not call the elements. You will summon the element. You know, so it's very different for each thing, and as to the reasons why, it's more a matter of respect to certain things. You honor the deities and the gods and goddesses, right?
Right.
And deities just mean gods and goddesses, nothing else. Just so you know, or it's just a matter of the word and how a person say it. That's what some of the words I wanted to bring out there too. And when you are doing all of that, you're simply just making sure that you give honor with the gods and goddesses and with the elements. You're giving them respect and you're asking them nicely, but you're still summoning. You know, and so that's why you would say dismiss the elements, but you do not dismiss the gods and goddesses. It's just respect. You just don't dismiss someone that's higher than you. You know what I mean? It's just a matter of different respect. Okay, so that was the powerful magical days. Docile, something as simple as docile just means clockwise. And a lot of times people will say, oh, just go docile. And the person, I have seen their faces, they stand there with complete perplexity. And they're like, what does he mean by this docile? And then, oh, let's go clockwise. You know, that's all it means.
Right, and just to interject with that, there's another word, docile, that has the same pronunciation that has nothing to do with witchcraft or going clockwise. It means just being, kind or submissive or quiet.
Yes.
So people will like, how does that work with being a witch? And it's two completely different words, completely different spellings. I like to see the look on people's face when we say widdershins, because they're like, what?
Yes, that's the next thing I was going to say. Yes, and when you say widdershin, especially when you which is closing, you're going backwards. You're going back away in order of the last one and going backwards, and you're closing it up with the way you came. So it's kind of like opening a door and closing a door. So you kind of, that's how you would be doing it. So when you say the word, people kind of get, they don't say it, but you can see the look of, I don't know what you mean, but I'll follow whatever you say.
Right.
And I don't want them to make them feel that way. So it's things that you should just learn, and the meaning with it. It's the same as when we say cleansing. I'm going to be doing a cleansing. How do you take that one? And it's just that, people should know what that cleansing is and what you're doing when you say you're cleansing.
I would actually, that's actually almost an entirely whole show when we talk about cleansing, because people like, I need a cleansing. Okay, so what is it that when you say you need a cleansing, what exactly do you mean by that? Do you need to clear yourself of adverse energies? Do you need to?
I think just simply removing negative, because, like you said, practically all of those things could become their own little show. But we're just thinking in the
right. Okay. So when we're talking, I do a lot of clearings and cleansings on people depending on what it is. And when I do a clearing on you, I will clear the energetic body, the physical body, the emotional body, and the spiritual body. I restore your divine God or goddess energy, depending on what your gender is. I get your energy back from where you scattered it from. But basically, it's a basic clearing on all levels of the being. A lot of people will just smudge themselves, or they'll take a salt bath. But that might not be enough to do the entire energetic system, because it's your energetic system. Once that's compromised, a little sage smoke or sitting in a bath full of salt isn't really going to do a lot of help for you. So I do clearings on all levels of a person's being. In fact, before, and I hear that a lot, oh, I need to be cleared of negative energy. Let me start there, actually. Let's not use the word so much of negative energy, because we are like batteries. We are positive and negative. You don't want to be walking around all lopsided because you got rid of all your negative energy. You need your negative energy. So let's say if you want to use that, let's say to get rid of excess negative energies, or just switch the word to adverse energies, because a lot of people don't realize, like, I need to get rid of all this negative energy. Well, guess what? You're half negative and you're half positive. We are in divine balance. So you can't get rid of all your negative energy. So if you're saying in your spell, or you're doing your clear, okay, I'm getting rid of all my negative energy, your soul is like, what are you talking about? We can't get rid of our negative energy. That's half of us. We're not doing that, and it gets confused. So you want to, that's something that I've noticed that a lot of people will say, but what you're really saying is you want to get rid of excess negative energy, or unbalanced energies, or adverse energy. So make sure that your intentions are clear in what you're saying, because you can't get rid of all your negative energy. It's a part of your makeup. We need both. We're yin and yang, male, female, projective, receptive. Just like a battery, we have both sides. Batteries just don't run on positive energy. One side is positive, one side is negative. So we're basically energy. We're batteries in human form. So be careful with that, first of all, in how you're using that wording. And then also, it's really important. I was going to add this later on, but I see that we are like way out of time. But I'll say this. I'll say this. This one thing though, about when it comes to clearings. We talked about learning about your deities and your patron elements and so forth and so on. It's really important when I teach classes, before I do spells with my ceremonies. The first thing, if you want to learn how to be a witch and do all these things, the first thing I teach you is how to clean up your own energetic system and do self-healing. Because when you're doing energy work, it can be very compromising to your energetic system. Even if you are pulling energy up from the earth to fuel you, it's still a force. If you're not used to carrying energy, that energy is still, it's like getting hit with a lightning bolt inside. You might not feel it, but you could feel exhausted after your spell work or whatever. It's important that you understand your energetic field, your chakra systems, how to heal them, how to clean it up. I take you through that before I teach you anything else, because you must learn how to heal yourself. How are you going to heal someone if you don't know how to heal yourself? And so you have to learn everything, your chakra system, the aura system, how to clear it, how to cleanse it, how to do these things, how to read your own chakras so that you know what's going on. It's important to understand the energy that you're working with from within and make sure that energy isn't toxic. That's why if you come to and watch my online ceremonies, the first thing, that we do is we clean ourselves up. Before we even get started, we clean up, we fuel up, we do our thing, and then we heal ourselves up from any damages or unbalanced energies that may be left. We fix ourselves back up again. And so it's really important. A lot of us as witches will study, the outward, the herbs, the candles, and all the other things that go along with ceremony and casting spells and things like that. Very few of us that I have found actually understand their own energetic system and how to heal it. And that is really, really important, is to understand your own energetic system. And just one of the things I had, so now that I do remember, and I'd have to scroll up to try to find it, and maybe I can find it somewhere. But I did see that someone did make a comment about they didn't do well with earth energy, and that was way up at the top, and I wanted to expand on that, but then I got distracted because we started talking about other things. I'm trying to find it so that I can put it into the proper perspective. So I'm just scrolling to see if I can find it, because I know it was pretty much way up there on here, and this thing keeps just scrolling away from me. So I'm not sure who said it or the context. I guess we were talking about in the beginning, getting to know your own personal patrons, and we were talking about, oh, here it is. we've got Debbie, and she says, I don't always connect to earth, much more water. Okay, so I'm getting that you connect more to water than earth. That's perfectly fine, even though it would appear that you are May 19th. You know, I think you're probably a Gemini. I think you're probably right on the cusp with May 19th. But anyway, you know, a lot of witches, and I'm saying this even though I know that everyone's exhausted and probably ready for me to shut up now. I also had a problem with what we call grounding, you know, by, you know, pulling up the energies of the earth to help us out, or getting rid of the other energies, because a lot of witches fuel up first by, you know, sinking their roots into the ground and pulling that energy up, and that just did not resonate with me. I don't know why, it just did not resonate with me. I know there's nothing wrong with me, it just doesn't resonate with me. So I pull my energy from the universe. Well, then I realized, I said, you know what? The earth contains all elements. The earth is not just made of earth. There's water in there. The center of the earth is fire. It's molten fire and lava. So there's fire in the earth. There's water in the earth. There's air pockets in the earth. So what I would do is, instead, when I would sink my roots into the earth, instead of pulling up energy from the earth, I specifically would pull up water and fire, because they resonate with me. But I pulled those specific energies up through the earth, and that really fueled me up. So if you don't resonate with earth energy, which is okay, not everybody does, you can still pull up other energies that you do resonate with from the earth to fuel you, to get you rolling with your energy work of whatever it is that you're doing, because the earth contains all of the elements. So you don't just have to pull up earth energy, or you don't just have to pull up fire, or you don't have to pull up all of the energies if they don't resonate with you. You can pull up whatever energy from the earth that you need to, but you can also pull energy from the universe, which is where I've pretty much gotten my energy from forever. But I do enjoy the fueling that I get pulling fire and water up through my body. So I just wanted to add that, because I saw that Debbie had said that she didn't resonate well with the earth energies, and I know what that feels like. So I wanted to give you another option, just in case, if you're ever in a coven or in a circle and they do their grounding and you want to be a part of that, you can either pull up other elements from the earth that you resonate with, or pull your energy from the sky like I do. It works just as well. The sun fuels me, the moon fuels me. I take the energy wherever I can pretty much get it from, or what it corresponds with what it is that I'm doing. So I wanted to say that. Was there anything else you wanted to add, Goddess Star, before we get ready to close out? Because I know it's 11:30 in New York.
No, there are too many more that I have.
I know.
So we can always do that for another time, and I think it's because it's late.
Well, you know what we can
Thank you guys
do?
so much.
You know what we can do? Because I do see that this, you know, I'm looking in the chat room and I see that there's lots of questions, and this is a really good topic. So maybe what we'll do is we'll do like a solitary show, maybe once a month or once every couple of months. We'll do a solitary show. And then what you can do for our listeners, you can go on Facebook and join our Priestess View group page. And then you can go ahead and submit to us your questions that you would like us to cover in the next solitary show, because we'll make it a regular thing for you guys. And then we can then have something to work with the show really is about you. We want to help you and empower you, and you guys help us too. I read the chat rooms and it really does help. So why don't you go ahead and tell us what your questions are, and then we can address them. Like I saw earlier that Debbie had asked, how do we feel about degrees? You know, the first degree, the second degree, the third degree, the labels, and we can talk about that. In fact, I'll write it down so I don't forget. Labels.
Yeah, I'll add that to my list right here, and we can talk about that, because I think it's really, you know, also in the group. I'm glad that you mentioned that, Goddess Rhonda, because in the group the idea came up for the solitary show because someone in the group indicated that they would love to have a show on that. So you guys give us the ideas and the thoughts of what it is you want to have covered, and we do our best to do that for you. So you can always add that in there, but I'm going to add that right now to my list of things, and we can add that for another next show.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I want to say I'm starting to stumble over my words now because I am so exhausted, but I just wanted to thank everyone for watching, and I especially want to thank our chat room people. I learned, Goddess Star and I really do learn from you guys, and the questions that you ask us, if it forces us to do research, it helps us to learn too. It's beneficial on both sides. I love when someone asks me a question and I don't know the answer to it, because now I've got something new that I can research and learn about. It makes me happy. I like to do research. Research is something I love to do. I could sit here. If I was independently wealthy, I'd sit on the computer and do research all day because I love doing research. Unfortunately, that's not the case. But if you tell us what it is you want to learn, we are happy to do the research so that we can help you out and then point you in the right direction. So please, by all means, join our Facebook group. Ask us questions. We are very happy to answer you because it's our intention to empower as many people as we possibly can. We really do want to do that, and we're very grateful to all of you. We love our chat room folks, and we're our chat room family, and we're really, really grateful. So with all of that said, we are going to go ahead and, before I forget, Happy New Moon. I believe that's Friday, if I'm not mistaken. Is it Friday? Goddess Star?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I was saying, is the new moon Friday? I think it's Friday.
Yeah, the 30th?
I think, yes. It's Friday, right? Let me take a look.
The 30th. That's all I know.
It's Friday.
and we're doing a she moon ritual for that one because it's the second new moon in the month. So we're doing it as a she moon. It's going to be awesome.
I'm doing that also in Hinduism starts the 9 nights of the goddess, when 3 goddesses descend to earth for 3 days apiece. So we're going to do a new moon Navatri ceremony, the 9 nights of the goddess.
Yeah,
for that.
that's awesome.
So we've got.
We'll have some great rituals ready for the 30th.
Yeah.
So that's wonderful.
So I want to.
Again, backing up what Goddess Rhonda said, we wish to thank you guys so much because all of our ideas and thoughts and everything, again, comes from you guys. So,
yes.
And it's all about you guys, like she said. So thank you guys so much. And happy Mabon and happy new moon.
Happy new moon. And we will see you again next week. And so, let's close out the circle. Thank you, my lords and ladies of the elements and directions. We thank you so much for your kind service and return your energy back to source with our gratitude and blessings. And with that said, we say merry meet, merry part, and merry meet again. Thank you so much, everyone. And we will see you back here next week. Have an awesome week and good night. Thank you.